the Bible. It is a collection of ancient writings, yet its stories echo through time. They reach across civilizations, across generations. These narratives speak to something deep within us. They tell us about our origins, our purpose, and our struggles. They explore the very essence of what it means to be human. These are not merely tales of a distant past, they are vibrant, living words. They offer wisdom that remains relevant even in our modern world, a world vastly different from the one in which these stories were first told. These ancient accounts are like mirrors. They reflect our own lives, our own journeys. We see our hopes in them, we see our fears, we see our capacity for great good and also for profound error. The characters within these pages are not so different from us. They grapple with faith and doubt. They search for meaning. They yearn for connection. A connection to something greater, something transcendent. Their experiences, though set in ancient times, resonate with the challenges and triumphs we face today. Within these sacred texts, we uncover profound lessons, timeless truths about morality, about justice, about compassion. They guide us in understanding the complexities of life. They chart the spiritual journey of humanity, from moments of divine intervention to acts of simple human kindness. These stories explore the eternal dance between good and evil. They illuminate the path towards a more meaningful existence. They challenge us to consider our own place in the grand tapestry of creation. So, let us embark on a journey together, a journey into the heart of these epic Bible stories. We will walk with Noah as he builds an ark against a rising tide. We will witness the fall of proud cities. We will climb a sacred mountain to receive laws etched in stone, and we will follow a star to a humble birthplace that heralded a new dawn for humanity. Let the power of these narratives wash over us. Let their ancient wisdom speak to us once more. The world had grown dark. Humanity had strayed far from its intended path. Selfishness and cruelty became the common tongue. God looked upon this creation, and a deep sorrow was felt, a profound sadness for what had become of the world. A decision was made, a difficult one. The earth needed cleansing. A great flood would wash away the corruption. It would offer a chance for a new beginning, a fresh start for all life. This was not an act of anger alone, but one of painful necessity. Yet, amidst the pervasive darkness, one man stood apart. His name was Noah. He was a righteous man. He lived a life of integrity. He cared deeply for his family. He walked in close communion with God. It was to Noah that God turned. He was chosen for an extraordinary task, a monumental undertaking. He was instructed to build an ark, a colossal vessel strong enough to withstand the coming deluge. It needed to be vast, large enough to shelter his family, and 2 of every living creature, male and female, to preserve life on earth. Imagine the scene. The slow, steady work of construction, the gathering of animals, pairs of every kind, the majestic lions, their roars echoing the impending change, the gentle elephants, their massive forms moving towards safety, the colourful birds, the smallest insects, all found refuge within the ark's protective embrace. Then the heavens opened. Rain began to fall. Not a gentle shower, but a torrential downpour. For 40 days and 40 nights it rained without ceasing. The waters rose, covering valleys, then mountains, until the whole world was submerged. The ark, a lone sanctuary, floated upon this vast, endless ocean. After many months, the rains stopped. The waters began to recede. Noah sent out a raven, then a dove. The dove eventually returned, in its beak an olive leaf, a sign of hope, a promise of land. New life was emerging. The ark finally came to rest on the slopes of a mountain. Noah, his family, and all the creatures disembarked. They stepped onto fresh, clean earth. God made a covenant. Never again would a flood destroy all life. A rainbow arched across the sky, a vibrant symbol of this divine promise of mercy and renewal. This story teaches profound obedience. It speaks of faith in the face of overwhelming odds and the enduring possibility of a world reborn. There are places on this earth that can become heavy, weighed down by the choices of those who dwell there. Sodom and Gomorrah were such cities. Their people had turned their backs on kindness, on justice, on compassion. Wickedness had become their way of life. Their actions created a darkness that spread like a shadow. This pervasive corruption did not go unnoticed by the heavens. A divine judgment was drawing near. The very air around these cities seemed to carry a sense of foreboding, a warning of what was to come. However, even in the darkest of places, a single flame of goodness can sometimes persist. Lot, a kinsman of Abraham, lived in Sodom. He strived to live a righteous life amidst the surrounding depravity. God, in his mercy, wished to spare Lot and his immediate family. So angels were sent. They appeared as ordinary men, travelers seeking lodging for the night. Lot welcomed them into his home. He offered them hospitality, a sacred duty. This simple act of kindness shone brightly against the pervasive darkness of the city. The city's true nature soon revealed itself. The men of Sodom, consumed by their wicked desires, surrounded Lot's house. They demanded that he bring out his guests. Their intentions were vile. Lot, showing great courage, stood against them. He tried to protect those under his roof from the mob's fury. At that moment, the angels acted. They struck the aggressive crowd with a blinding light. They then urged Lot to gather his family, his wife, his 2 daughters. They were to flee the city immediately, and they were given a strict warning: do not look back. As the sun began to rise, Lot and his family hurried away from the doomed cities. Behind them, a terrifying cataclysm unfolded. Fire and brimstone rained down from the sky, consuming Sodom and Gomorrah, wiping them from the face of the earth. But Lot's wife, in a moment of hesitation or perhaps regret, disobeyed. She looked back at the burning destruction, and she was transformed into a pillar of salt, a stark reminder of the price of disobedience. Lot and his daughters, however, escaped to safety. This harrowing tale underscores a solemn truth. Our actions have profound consequences. It speaks of the destructive power of unchecked evil and the critical importance of heeding divine guidance, especially in times of crisis. In the ancient land of Shinar, a plain in Mesopotamia, the people were united. They spoke a single language. They shared a common purpose. A grand, ambitious idea took root among them. Let us build ourselves a city, they declared, and a tower with its top in the heavens. Let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be dispersed over the face of the whole earth. It was to be a monument to their unity, a testament to their collective strength and ingenuity, a symbol of human achievement reaching for the skies. Their ambition was as vast as the sky they aimed to touch. They learned to make bricks. They fired them thoroughly. They used bitumen for mortar. The construction began. The tower started to rise from the plains, a visible sign of human cooperation and skill. It was a marvel of their time. God observed their project. He saw their unified effort. He also perceived the undercurrent of pride, a desire to achieve greatness, perhaps even to challenge the divine on their own terms. Their focus was on making a name for themselves rather than honoring a higher power. A concern arose in the divine council. If humanity, in its unity and early stage of development, could achieve this, what would they not attempt next? What boundaries would they recognize? Would their ambition lead them to overstep, to believe that nothing was impossible for them? So a decision was made. Not out of anger, but perhaps out of a desire to guide humanity's development. Their common language was confounded. Suddenly, the architect's instructions were incomprehensible to the builders. The suppliers could not understand the requests. Communication broke down. Confusion replaced the once smooth cooperation. The ambitious work on the great tower ground to a halt. Frustration and misunderstanding replaced their shared purpose. The unfinished structure stood as a silent monument, a symbol of human ambition that had reached too high, too soon. Unable to understand one another, the people began to separate. They formed new groups, new communities based on the new languages that had emerged. They scattered across the earth, fulfilling a destiny different from the one they had envisioned. The story of the Tower of Babel serves as a powerful reminder. Humility has its place. Ambition is a driving force, but it must be balanced with wisdom and with a recognition of our place within the larger order of existence. The fall of Babylon, the writing on the wall. Babylon. The name itself evoked images of grandeur and power. Its walls were legendary, said to be impenetrable. Its hanging gardens were one of the wonders of the ancient world. This city was the vibrant heart of an empire, a centre of commerce, culture and military might. King Belshazzar sat on its throne. He was the grandson of Nebuchadnezzar, the great conqueror. Belshazzar felt secure within his opulent palace. He believed his kingdom was unshakable. He decided to host a magnificent feast. 1,000 of his nobles were invited. Wine flowed freely. Revelry filled the great hall. In the midst of this extravagant celebration, as the king and his guests drank wine from sacred vessels looted from the temple in Jerusalem, a chilling event occurred. A human hand appeared, seemingly out of nowhere. It had no body, no arm, just a hand. It began to write on the plaster of the palace wall. Strange, cryptic words appeared under the glow of the lamplight. A sudden silence fell upon the banquet. The music stopped. Laughter died. Fear, cold and stark, gripped King Belshazzar. His face turned pale. His knees knocked together. His wise men, the enchanters, the astrologers, the diviners, were hastily summoned. But none could read the writing. None could interpret its meaning for the terrified king. Then the queen remembered Daniel, a man of God, an Israelite captive. He was known for his exceptional wisdom, his ability to interpret dreams and solve mysteries. Daniel had served under Nebuchadnezzar. He was brought before King Belshazzar. Daniel looked at the inscription on the wall. He did not waver. He spoke the truth to the king, plainly, fearlessly. The words were Aramaic: Mene, Mene, Tekel, Upharsin. Daniel interpreted them. Mene, God has numbered the days of your reign and brought it to an end. Tekel, you have been weighed on the scales and found wanting. Peres, the singular of Upharsin, your kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and Persians. That very night, the prophecy was fulfilled with shocking speed. The mighty Persian army, under the command of Cyrus the Great, was already at the gates. They had devised a cunning plan. They diverted the waters of the Euphrates River, which flowed through Babylon. The riverbed became shallow enough for their soldiers to wade through. They entered the city under the walls. The city's gates, usually heavily guarded, were left unsecured during the great feast. Babylon, the seemingly invincible city, fell. King Belshazzar was slain. The mysterious writing on the wall was a divine judgment, a stark warning that pride often precedes destruction, and that no earthly kingdom, no matter how powerful, is eternal. Destiny, it seems, can indeed be written for all to see. Moses and the Exodus, a people set free. The children of Israel were in Egypt. They had lived there for many generations. But their status had changed. They were no longer welcome guests. They had become slaves. Their lives were filled with hardship and suffering. They toiled under cruel taskmasters, building cities for Pharaoh. Their cries of anguish, their pleas for deliverance, rose up to the heavens. God heard their groaning. He remembered the covenant he had made with their ancestors, Abraham, Isaac and Jacob. A plan for their liberation was set in motion. A leader would be raised up to guide them out of the land of bondage towards a promised land, flowing with milk and honey. That leader was Moses, a man with a unique destiny. An Israelite by birth, he was miraculously saved as an infant. He was raised in the very household of Pharaoh. Yet his heart remained with his own people. One day, while tending sheep in the wilderness, he encountered God in a remarkable way. A bush was burning with fire, yet it was not consumed. From this burning bush, God spoke to Moses. He was given a divine commission, a formidable task. Go to Pharaoh, the ruler of Egypt. Demand the release of the Israelite people. God promised to be with him, to give him the words to speak, and to show mighty signs and wonders. Pharaoh, however, was a proud and stubborn ruler. He refused to let the Israelites go. His heart was hardened. So a series of plagues, 10 in all, were unleashed upon the land of Egypt. Each plague was a demonstration of God's power. Each was more devastating than the last. The Nile River turned to blood. Frogs swarmed the land. Gnats and flies tormented the people. Livestock died. Painful boils afflicted the Egyptians. Hailstorms destroyed crops. Locusts consumed what remained. Darkness covered the land. Yet Pharaoh would not yield until the final, most terrible plague, the death of every firstborn son in Egypt. Only then In grief and fear did Pharaoh order the Israelites to leave. They departed quickly in the dead of night. But Pharaoh soon regretted his decision. His heart hardened once more. He gathered his army, his chariots, and pursued the fleeing Israelites. They reached the edge of the Red Sea. They were trapped, the Egyptian army closing in behind them, the vast sea stretching out before them. Fear and despair swept through the people, but Moses, trusting in God's power, raised his staff over the waters. A strong east wind blew. The sea parted, creating a path of dry land through the towering walls of water. The Israelites walked across to safety. When the Egyptians tried to follow, the waters rushed back, engulfing Pharaoh's army. This was their exodus. A miraculous deliverance from slavery, a journey towards freedom, a defining moment of faith and divine intervention. Moses and the Ten Commandments, a blueprint for life. After their astonishing escape from the clutches of Egypt, after the miraculous parting of the Red Sea, the Israelites journeyed through the harsh Sinai wilderness. God led them by a pillar of cloud during the day and a pillar of fire by night. Their journey was not just a physical one. It was also a spiritual transformation, from a collection of slaves into a unified nation. They eventually arrived at the foot of a majestic, imposing mountain, Mount Sinai. Its peaks pierced the sky. It was here, on this sacred mountain, that God would give his people a divine constitution, a set of laws and principles, a blueprint for how they should live in covenant with him and with one another. Moses was summoned to ascend the mountain. He went alone to meet with God. As he climbed, the summit became enveloped in a thick, dark cloud. Thunder boomed, lightning crackled, the ground trembled. The sheer presence of the Almighty was awesome, even terrifying. For 40 days and 40 nights, Moses remained on Mount Sinai. He was in direct communion with God, receiving detailed instructions for the life of the community, laws concerning worship, justice, social conduct, and festivals. It was an intense period of divine revelation, shaping the future of a people. During this time, God himself inscribed his fundamental laws onto 2 tablets of stone. These became known as the 10 Commandments, or the Decalogue, the 10 words. These were not merely arbitrary rules, they were foundational principles designed to create a just, holy, and compassionate society. They began by establishing the people's relationship with God. I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. You shall have no other gods before me. They also commanded reverence for God's name and the observance of the Sabbath day, a day for rest, for worship, for remembering God's creative work. The commandments then turned to human relationships, how people should treat one another. Honor your father and your mother. This ensured respect within families and society. Then came the prohibitions. You shall not murder. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not give false testimony against your neighbor. And finally, you shall not covet. This addressed the inner desires that can lead to harmful actions. These 10 timeless precepts became the cornerstone of Israelite law and ethics. They provided a moral compass, a blueprint for a life lived in harmony with God's will, a covenant of responsibility shaping Western civilization for millennia. The birth of Jesus, a star of hope. In the grand sweep of time, a pivotal moment arrived. A new chapter in the divine story was about to unfold. It happened in a small, unassuming town in Judea, Bethlehem, the town of David. It was during the reign of Caesar Augustus, and when Herod the Great was king in Judea. A child was to be born. His name would be Jesus. His birth was not heralded with earthly pomp or royal declarations. It occurred not in a grand palace, but in the humblest of settings, a stable among the animals. Yet this quiet birth was an event of cosmic significance, one that would forever alter the course of human history, a promise of profound hope, a new light dawning in a world often shadowed by darkness. Far away in the lands to the east, there were wise men, magi, scholars who studied the stars. They observed a new star in the heavens, a brilliant celestial body unlike any they had seen before. They understood its meaning from ancient prophecies. It signified the birth of a new king, a king of the Jews, a ruler of great importance. Compelled by this heavenly sign, they embarked on a long and arduous journey. They traveled for many months following the star. Their quest was to find this newborn king, to pay him homage. Their journey was one of faith, guided by celestial light. Their travels eventually led them to Jerusalem, the capital city. They inquired, "Where is the one who has been born King of the Jews? We saw his star when it rose and have come to worship him." When King Herod heard this news, he was deeply disturbed, and all Jerusalem with him. Herod was a ruthless and jealous ruler. He feared any potential rival to his power. He secretly summoned the Magi. He questioned them carefully about the time the star had appeared. Then he sent them to Bethlehem. "Go and search diligently for the child," he said. "As soon as you find him, report to me, so that I too may go and worship him." But his words masked a dark and treacherous intent. His true plan was to eliminate this infant threat. The star, which they had seen in the east, went ahead of them. It led them directly to Bethlehem. It stopped over the very place where the child was. When they saw the star, they were overjoyed. They entered the house. They saw the young child Jesus with his mother Mary and Joseph. They bowed down low. They worshipped him. Then, opening their treasures, they presented him with precious gifts: gold fit for a king, frankincense for a deity, and myrrh, an anointing oil foreshadowing his later suffering. Having been warned by God in a dream not to return to Herod, the Magi went back to their own country by a different route. An angel also appeared to Joseph in a dream. "Take the child and his mother," the angel said, "and escape to Egypt. Stay there until I tell you, for Herod is going to search for the child to kill him." And so the light of hope was protected, sheltered from the gathering storm of tyranny. A new era had begun. Conclusion: timeless truths, enduring light. From the vast, cleansing waters of Noah's flood to the guiding light of a star over Bethlehem. These epic stories, woven into the fabric of the Bible, have traversed the ages. They are far more than just ancient chronicles or historical records. They are living narratives, vibrating with meaning. They speak directly to the deepest parts of the human experience. They explore our intricate relationship with the divine presence, our complex connections with one another, and the eternal quest to understand ourselves. These tales offer windows into the soul of humanity. In the unwavering faith of Noah, we see the profound importance of obedience, of trusting even when the path ahead is obscured by storm clouds. The fate of Sodom and Gomorrah serves as a stark confrontation with the destructive consequences of moral decay. The ambitious Tower of Babel stands as a caution against the perils of unchecked pride and human arrogance. The dramatic fall of Babylon, with the mysterious writing on the wall, reminds us that all earthly power is ultimately transient, and that divine judgment can arrive when least expected. These are not merely stories confined to the past. They are potent lessons that continue to resonate in our lives today. Moses emerges as a figure of immense courage, leading a people from bondage to freedom. He ascends the sacred mountain and returns with laws that would shape civilizations. The Ten Commandments offer more than just rules. They provide an enduring moral compass, a foundational guide for ethical conduct and just societies. Then, in the quiet, humble birth of Jesus, we discover a message of profound and transformative hope. A message that even in the darkest of times, light can emerge from the most unexpected of places. Divine love and protection, these stories suggest, are constants, always present, even when adversity seems overwhelming. These narratives, with their rich imagery, their compelling characters and their deep spiritual insights, continue to inspire humanity. They challenge our perspectives. They offer comfort in times of sorrow. They teach values that are universal and timeless, values such as faith, hope, justice, humility, forgiveness and love. They remind us that even in a world that often feels chaotic and complex, there are enduring truths, an unwavering light that can guide our steps. The ancient echo of these powerful words still reverberates, shaping our understanding, touching our hearts and illuminating our shared human journey.